welcome to the racing action. We are underway, 9 laps out of 100 being put down. As you see, the timer is there. The driver's under timing and also scoring to see where they're going to be placed. As right now, we are watching ourselves with the BladeNodes.com New Year's Day Enduro race. My name's Sam Dyer. With me is Anthony McCurry. And Anthony, we missed the first 11 laps. We're staying green even if there's carnage. What's been going on?
Now, there's been a lot of stuff going on the track right now. As you can see on the track, it's just getting wilder and wilder through turn number 4. There are 4 classes of cars here tonight. Something that we typically don't see in many dirt series is that they have 4 classes of cars on the track at the same time. Think about a multi-class endurance race, say like a Daytona or Le Mans. It's like that, except you have the unpredictability of it being on dirt with a lot of chaos going on. As so far, they've stayed green. I'm not sure how they've stayed green, though. There's been a number of cars that have been on their roof sideways, looking it back the other direction. And so far, so good, as Trevor Fitz is your overall leader. But so far, a lot of stuff has happened, and it's almost too much to keep up with. As you look anywhere on this track, there's something going on.
Trevor Fitz really is trying to carry us. We're on board with that 31 machine. As you can see, carnage everywhere as drivers are just scattered. And this is the factor of the Enduro. You've got to avoid all the different classes and the fact that they're going to be driving, as we've got ourselves 4 different classes, like you said. We've got the dirt street stocks, then we've got the 305 sprint cars, the super late models, as well as the new big block modifieds that are out there on track. As right now, you're seeing it. It's the modifieds that are running rampant up front and are doing a great job.
They are indeed. They are putting on a clinic right now. There's only 2 of them, though, leading the race at the moment. That would be Trevor Fitz in the lead and Jerry Filippo running second place. But the sprint cars are right there. The majority of them making up the top 10, as that leader is going to be Adam Apt in the number 40. He's going to be leading that class, the sprint car class. All the way down to 8th place overall is going to be James Sterry running in the 74. He's actually coming into the pits. Not sure what's wrong with the 74 at the moment, but he's having to make a stop, dropping from the 6th place in his class. Now he's going to go all the way down to 11th, 12th, 13th overall, still 7th in class, back on track. I think he had to serve a penalty because he's coming right back on the track. But so far, that's kind of the way the landscape has been, is that most of these cars are just kind of running their own race with a lot of traffic. As now we're seeing that Ronald Piles is making his way up into the top 7. He's running 7th in overall, but 1st in class, that being that I believe being the big blocks. No, that's not the big blocks. That is
that is the big blocks that Piles is running right there.
It is the big blocks.
Those are the new machines that have just been added to iRacing here recently, and you're saying it, the power done by the street stocks there. But like you said, it's so much chaos. 41 drivers were going to be running this race. A total of, I believe, 28 still on track, as we're on lap 22 of 100.
Yeah, it's going by quickly. We haven't had a yellow flag, which is something that I would have considered would be a possibility, but so far not. Whoa, there's a car on his roof. I think that was, I don't know who that was. That was the number 6 car of, I believe that was Michael Cantrell that went on his roof. I think he made contact with a street stock and ended up going on his lid in turn 1. He's teleported to pit road. That was scary stuff that we saw on the part of that at the lead of the race. Speaking of the lead, there has been a change for the overall lead of the race. That is going to be Gary Peck in the sprint car. So the sprint car is now showing they've got some speed overall, as they've blown by the 2 super dirts.
Yeah, and right now getting by the late models, and now you're seeing it. That's Beck as well as Helms that are following suit, but Helms going to be caught up with some incident there in the 7 machine, with both the big blocks as well as the late models making contact, as the cars are carnage everywhere. As we look, really just got to pick and choose, as that was going to be Trevor Fitz able to get by those machines all collected up together. As really a crazy reaction as we're here at Cedar Lake, and more carnage everywhere. Anthony, we weren't really sure what we were going to see with this Enduro racing here on the dirts. It's, like we said, 100 laps here, 4 different series, and more cars flipping. I think that's the 14 machine of the big blocks that went flipping for a second there.
Yeah, there's been happening a whole lot. There's one of the sprint cars on the side. Whoa, there's 2 sprint cars that just made contact. One of them flew off the racetrack. Has actually gone up onto where the guardrail is. He's got to figure out a way to get back down. The 58 also, that's a street stock. It's going backwards the wrong way on pit road. Trying to figure out where he's trying to get down. He's going to spin it around. Kind of Austin Powers it up on the bank. He's actually kind of beached it a little bit, but now he's going to try and get back on the racetrack. But it has been nothing but unadulterated chaos. There's a sprint car facing the wrong way. That's the cat car. Not sure what car that is, but is facing the wrong direction. Speaking of cars that are in the sprint cars, one of them's leading the race still. That's Jason Rudolph. Figured out how to get to the lead, kind of running by himself. Trevor Fitz is now running in second place, but it's amazing that they've been able to get around all this chaos. Now Fitz going to the outside of one of the street stocks, that'd be the 22, and there's a little bit of contact back there between the 22 and one of the streets, or the sprints. Now they make contact, all 4 classes in the same camera shot as they whiz by.
Yeah, that was Jerry Phillip, who is going to be leading that charge on the inside that we were just on. It's a 13 machine. And Anthony, you have all this carnage of cars just flipping. Those of 55 that got up into the fence but still able to run. There's cash also on the line for these drivers as they're racing around, as all 4 classes, money to be earned. Our top driver that's going to be in first place that wins for their class gets $50, second place gets $25, third place gets $15. So all these drivers still hunting and hounding get some type of cash.
Yeah, you know, there's a prize on the line, and you have the stuff that you can use, then you're going to use it as it's a one-shot race, so there's nothing going to hold you back from going into, say, a series where you might have some implications that will carry over to weeks to come, but there's nothing of that here. It's all just racing for cash. It's more or less like an all-star race that we're seeing right now, an exhibition race at the finest calibers. Whoa, the 22 back there I saw got a little bit loose, almost got collected, but still running around. Running in 5th place, I gotta make note, there's a car running 5th place, that's John Helms. He's missing his front wing, but still running 5th place overall, 3rd place in class, so that would be one of the winners that are getting a cash prize, because the top 3 from all 4 classes are gonna get a cash prize. So John Helms would be one of those. He's running with a very wounded car. You gotta think a lot of these cars right now are not the best condition that they started the race out in. There's just the damage that they've accumulated over time is probably taking a toll, as right now Helms is in a battle between the 9 and the other 9 going through turn 1.
The big blocks bullying the sprint machine as he's finally able to get by and evading all the cars. They're going to be stuck on track, looking like some machines able to come into the pit road after a tow using a fast repair. I don't believe we got the exact number of fast repairs these drivers are going to be able to work with, but certainly they are being utilized as we still have a total of 25 machines still out there on track and all scattered all around. Yeah,
it's scattered is the correct word to use. Is right now we haven't really talked much about the street stocks, even though they've been literally everywhere on the track. They are the slowest cars on this particular track at the moment. But the leader of the street stocks just got collected by a car that was trying to get back going the right direction. That's one of the super blocks, and there's one flipping right in front of him. He's got to get going the right direction, but now the leader's got going. He's actually been overtaken by Aaron Day, so Aaron Day now the new leader in the street stocks, running in that 564 machine and trying to get something going with that car. A lot of these drivers are just trying to figure out a way that they can get going, try to find some momentum, because it's got a lot of intensity right where they're running at, where Aaron Day is running at, and being the slowest class, you're kind of just at the mercy of the other cars figuring out where they're going to do. It's kind of the same thing that happens in all multi-class racing. If you're in the slowest class, you're basically hoping that the faster guys don't get into you.
They are flipping, scattering, nowhere to go as more machines getting placed everywhere. I think that if we're looking at the cars for the fact of just trying to survive with damage, the street stock's probably the best and most like a tank out of all 4 machines out here. And you got to know the sprint cars are probably in the least amount of protection with the way and how small those machines are and how much the wings are important. As you keep on looking through, it's going to be Jason Rudolph still in that sprint machine, still looking pretty clean for himself, and somehow has evaded all the carnage around him, as there's only about 3 machines. Oh my goodness, Rudolph still able to survive.
Yeah, Rudolph has been able to find out where he can put his car and keep it there, and he's got one of the best looking cars on the racetrack as far as damage goes. It doesn't look like that car's got a scratch on it, which, you know, he's been keeping his nose clean. I don't know how much of that is. Oh, he almost got collected, but he did save it. Got going back the right direction. He has got the overall lead. He's only got about a 5-second lead back to second place. So the lead is close, and it's between two different classes. It's between the Super Dirts and the sprint cars. So still a close battle, but it seems that the lighter sprint cars definitely have the advantage in these tight corners, but don't count out these super late models. They've got the speed, they've got the straight line speed, and more importantly, if it comes down to it, they will bully the sprint cars to get what they want.
Yeah, it's so interesting the fact that you can just look on and say on one machine, as we're on board with the 13, you're seeing that yellow late model machine just trying to get by and also trying to evade as we continue to watch on this 13 just for a bit as the carnage behind him, more vehicles flipping, and oh boy, in front of him now collected is going to be Flapo.
Yeah, he got away with it though, didn't he? Barely got away with it and almost collected the leader of the super late models, but still that leader Filippo keeps going. He's got Trevor Fitz pretty close behind him too. He's only about 4-second lead over Fitz, so this is a battle for the lead in that class. This is some pretty big implications for this class specifically because they are the only two that are running close to each other in class that have major immediate implications. You can think about John Helms. That's the next guy that's going to catch Rudolph for the lead of the sprint cars. He is way far behind Alma. He's actually a few laps behind the leader, Rudolph, so he's got a lot of catching up to do if he wants to catch up. He's actually past Fitz now for the third place overall, so that car is moving up. Filippo is still leading the way in super late model, but still trying to get away from Helms, who's got a charge.
Yeah, and you know, the difficulty for a lot of these machines are the fact that you are slipping and sliding, trying to hit these corners just right, and the cars are still stuck all over the place, and you're trying to evade them as we're on board with Helms. At the moment, runs right into that cat-schemed machine, and somehow he'll continue running through. But these cars, you just have to keep going. You cannot give an inch as Helms right in the middle of a lot more carnage, more cars flipping behind him. That's really no one giving any clue here as the car came back on track. That's going to be Clayton Cooper, and the 15 big block machine has no front hood, but still able to run strong in the 15 machine. But Anthony, looking at all four classes, this is still a long race. As you can see, it's our time is saying 10 minutes left. There's going to be extra time added on due to the fact that we are running to lap 100. We're on lap 59 of 100. We're coming closer and closer to the end of this thing. Just a blink of an eye, Anthony. This race is almost over.
Yeah, it's gone by super quick. You wouldn't expect it to go by quick, but these sprint races usually only last 30 laps at the longest sometimes. So this is basically adding so much to the carnage.
Oh.
That 8 car, I believe that's Covey Parsons, who is still facing the wrong direction in that number 8 cat machine. That front end is mangled. It doesn't look like he has any steering. He's got to find a way to get onto pit road. Trying to. He's got down onto an escape route on the infield. He might have to retire the car. That cat car is definitely not in the best of ways as he goes back on the track. I don't think he can steer right very well. But they see how he can get around to get to pit road and get that car repaired. But right now he's just a moving roadblock as now another car gets into him and he gets shot up the racetrack.
Yeah, I don't know.
Whoa!
Machine, oh, he hits Filippo. And still, that 8 machine, someone has to get him off the course because he's gone backward so many times. As we're now going to hop back on board with the 13 machine as carnage behind him. More cars spinning around. I think it was the 15 that time. But man, there's just so much action. It's hard for us to keep up. As it looks like Clay Cooper, once again, spun around. We're starting to see a similarity. If your car has damage, it's hard to run. As Filippo running into another machine, that's a sprint car that gets knocked around.
Yeah, Helm just passed Filippo to get the second overall, so now Filippo's trying to catch him. And now he's got sprint cars to his inside. He's got Fitz that's trying to catch him. That's going to be a battle for the lead in this class. And then you got Ronald Piles, which is in the midst of all of this. Ronald Piles, the leader right now in the big block, running very well. But he's got a guy right behind him who's trying to run him down. That's Miller. And that's, I say right behind him, he's about 7 seconds behind, but still, that's a close interval in this kind of race because if Piles has an incident happen to him like that one right there, if he has something like that happen to him too many times, he got lucky with that one, but his luck might run out, so he's got to continue to get the biggest lead possible as he's got 2 of the late models smoking on the front stretch.
Able to slow down as the cars behind him still scattering into the wall. And lots of motors are being lost at the moment as they continue to go down. But there's an incident for one of our leaders. That's going to be Jason Rudolph that was taken out. He's in the pits now.
Rudolph has had major issues. I think he was caught up in that thing that Ronald Piles was also a part of with the 2 late models that were smoking. So now he's in the pit. That's going to hand the lead over to John Helms, and that might move Rudolph out of a paying position. If he doesn't get back in the top 3, it's all for naught. But right now, Helms with a damaged sprint car, no front wing on that 21 machine, still finding a way to get out front and stay out front as he's got about a 4-second lead over Jerry Filippo in the super late model.
And these drivers hunting and hounding, like we said, cash is on the line. Top 3 in each class get some type of cash. As if you're a winner of your class, you get $50. Second place, you get $25. Third place in your class, you find yourself with $15 that you get to walk away from. These drivers been hunting and hounding all day, as this is the BlazeNotes.com it's New Year's Day Enduro race, and it's been already dramatic, crazy to see, as these drivers are still trying to get repairs done for themselves. It looks like Rudolph able to get repairs done and back out on track. Other machines have had to come in behind him, as James Starry as well as Robert Winks had to come into the pits. But right now we're on board with that 74 machine. Right now 3rd in the sprint cars, right on the bubble of possibly getting himself some cash. But that 55 machine's right on his back bumper.
Yeah, Rob Winks really wants that position. This is the closest battle for position on the track right now. Is it was going to be Chris Miller versus Piles, but Miller had an issue going down the front straightaway, so the back straightaway, so he's now out of it. Now the battle heating up between these 2 sprint cars. This is for the final paying point position, and now he's going to go to the inside. Goes Winks to the inside, going to take the position away from Starry, as Starry gets held up by a lot of cars, a whole host, a cavalcade of cars behind him. So now he's got to do some catching up to do. Now a straightaway separates the 74 and the 55. It's going to be a long way to get back up there, but now Winks moves into 3rd place.
Starry absolutely lost there as he gets plowed by everyone, and it's not looking like Starry's going to have a chance. He was bleeding in front of the 55 of Winks, and more carnage for the 74 machine, and now he's just losing his front bumper. As we move up here to see what Winks has got, like we said, he's that driver right on the brink. He's on 3rd place, but there's a lot of cars in front of him that he's got to be aware of. He makes contact with a sprint car and others. That's that street stock, and now he's sideways.
No, and he gets contact again, and he's got to get it going in the right direction. He's got it going, but Starry's made the pass back on him, and now Starry's now got issues. He's going through the infield, and
oh no!
Right into one of the big blocks and has to teleport to pit road, and that might be it for Starry. But Winks somehow gets out of it alive and now is in 3rd place, and definitely is the next guy is a long ways back. That be Amanda Bragg, and she is not going to be able to catch up in enough time because there's a few laps separating them.
Yeah, 80 laps out of 100. We're looking like we might finish out before the timer's done for these drivers, as they're still beating and banging off of one another. We're on board with Braggs right now. You talk about how she might be too far back. The fact is that the driver, she's got a kid after he flipped over and the back on all 4. She's the fact 10 laps down compared to the 55 machine as they continue to run ahead. Looking up front though for the drivers that are in the late models, that's going to be Filippo and also Fitz. Both those drivers, the only late models that are still running at the moment, so they are for sure going to be getting some cash here today.
For sure they are, and that's pretty set and done for those guys. The leader, we haven't talked much about this class, but the straight stock leader is now going to be Jesse Powers. And man, we talked about them briefly, how they're the slowest car on track, and they're pretty much built like tanks. This 32 machine has just been trekking along, trudging out a path for these other drivers to go by. Has got a pretty big lead right now over Aaron Day, which is 2nd place in the street stocks. So a little ways back from Day, you have Ricky Bonham, who is going to be in a bit of a battle kind of. No, he's not in a battle at all, actually. I just looked at the ticker. He's not in a battle at all. He's just kind of running.
Oh, Day's Powers going to be moved up, as it looks like Day going to be about 2, now 3 laps down from the 32 machines. The battle for the lead for the street stocks looks like it's out of hand. But looking at the big blocks right now, Aaron Miles gonna be still leading the way. Chris Miller is gonna lap back as Piles. Hard contact. That could be blowing up the engine. And it looks like actually that's the street stock, but the front bumper as well as the hood completely gone. More contact being made. Chris Miller's made the pass for the lead for the big blocks.
And Piles does have damage, and now Piles is becoming a roadblock. Chris Miller is now the leader of the race in the big blocks, and now he's made contact with another big block, but that's not for position. Just off the track, they go to the infield. So now, with a lot of drivers smoking, how long do you think these cars are going to last? This has turned more or less from an endurance race into a survival race. What can you do? How long can you go before your car gives out? Does Miller have the gas mileage? Does he have the engine mileage to make it there? Does this car give out? We won't know, but you can barely see the number on the right side of that car. It's gotten beat to heck and back, but right now, John Helms still running the lead of the race, keeping his nose clean, and Sam, you got to give him credit. He's made the most out of that race car, and right now he's kind of gotten slowed down a little bit, knowing that there's less cars running on the track. Maybe he's gotten into that cruise control mode.
A little bit, but you got to keep your head on a swivel, as right now 11 laps to go with almost 2.5 minutes left in the session. These drivers are putting down a lap about 15.2 to almost 16 seconds per lap, doing a great job speed-wise. We'll see if they can finish out the race before the timer runs out. But Anthony, like you said, who knows how many drivers are going to be left. We started this race off with 30 drivers. We're most likely down to only about 18 to 17 still running on track.
Yeah, there's been a lot of drivers taken out from either them getting into somebody or somebody getting into them. It's a small track, a quarter-mile long, maybe not even a quarter-mile long, and these drivers have to share it. Slow drivers, fast drivers, different cars, different types of driving styles. It's one of those races where, like we said earlier, it's more or less a survival race at this point. Right now, you've seen the drivers that have been able to weave their way through traffic, and those are pretty much everyone running in the top 5 at the moment. You got some drivers running outside the top 5, though, that have been no slouches either. Take a look at 6th place all the way down through 12th. That's made up of all the big blocks. And pretty much all the big blocks that started the race, with the exception of a handful of them, are still running, which I guess you have to give an testament to how much these cars can take a beating, because they are...
Oh my goodness. Helms was just in contact, lost a lot of time, and now going to be almost under threat. Still has over 2-lap lead over the other driver of Jason Rudolph, but you got to be careful here for this sprint car after being contact made with 5 laps left in this race.
Yeah, but we got to look back to Filippo. He's only 6 seconds, about 7 seconds back to Helms. So that super late model might be something that charges forward and tries to take the overall lead of the race. He's losing time a little bit now, but Helms just trying to hold on. Filippo trying to keep the lead over Fitz, which is only about 4 seconds back to Fitz. So he's got to keep that lead. He's slowing down.
Made contact. Filippo's made contact. He's got to make sure he can avoid people able to do it. And move back to Fitz, who Fitz looks like he might have gotten out of control there at the end of this race.
Yeah, he's gotten a little bit out of shape. Coming down to the wire, we only got 4 laps left, 3 laps to go when Helms crosses the line. They're on the back straightaway now.
2 laps to go here, Anthony. We're coming to the end of this thing. If you're going to make a strike, you've got to do it now, as it's going to be John Helms, in that 7 machine on the final lap. Coming around the bend, this 7 machine was able to avoid and conquer this racetrack, as he's going to get it done here in the 7 for the sprint cars. It's going to be Jerry Filippo, who's trying to get around these final couple of bends to find himself winning here for the late models, and then he dropped back to the big blocks. It's going to be Chris Miller, who looks like he'll be able to finish this out, leading those groups, and Jesse Powers going to be trying to power their way around, but stuck in the wall, not able to finish the lap just yet.
On the way to, I think they're on the back straightaway, might have already finished the race. Not quite yet. We're going to make sure that they do, but it's definitely going to be a win for Powers in the street stocks, and I think we have gotten confirmation that it is Jesse Powers winning the race in street stocks. There you go. That is possibly one of the most chaotic enduro races I've ever witnessed. 4 different classes of cars on the same track, a tiny track, a lot of cars, different speeds, and there is your war-torn cars. Look at all the beaten, battered up cars. They have been through war, but you can tell that the drivers had a lot of fun out there. It was a lot of fun to call, but man, John Helms, overall winner and sprint car winner. That is one heck of a drive with a wounded car for pretty much the entire race. Had no front wing, so basically had to nurse it around the turns. Could not go as fast as maybe some of his other sprint car companions, but definitely a powerhouse move being able to win this race. As Jerry Filippo, as we mentioned, will also win in super late model, and then rounding up the top 3 will be Trevor Fitz, who is going to be second place in these super late models as well. Sam, what a crazy race we just saw.
Yeah, one of the craziest races I think we've seen here on the Flatout Racing Network. That right there was the Node.com New Year's Day Enduro race here at Sydney Lake, Cedar Lake Raceway. And man, Anthony, a wild one for sure. Huge thanks to BladeNotes.com for giving the sponsor for this, for the drivers to even have a chance to get some money on the line. Amazing race, like you said. It was going to be John Helms leading the way in the sprint cars, able to get the win, $50 to himself, as well as Jerry Filippo, going to be getting $50 for winning the late models. And then you throw it down to Chris Miller, able to survive in those big blocks, going to get $50 for winning the big blocks. And then it's going to be Jesse Powers getting the street stocks, $50 winning for the pots. We do want to give a shout out, like we said, to BladeNotes.com. If you need any website hosting, email hosting, or VPS hosting, check out BladeNote.com. Simple website solutions powered by nerds. Remember to be using the multiple used promo code of HR HERD at the checkout to save 20% at the BladeNote.com services and products there. Great, and thank you for Blades Notes and everything you've done. Wild race for sure, as we are waiting to see for interviews, but this was a wild one, Anthony, for sure.
It was indeed, and I think one of the biggest takeaways we can take out of this race is the overall endurance that the new big blocks have. If you look at the finishing results, you can see clearly just which car survived the most, and that was the big blocks. They were the ones that were closest to each other on track as far as positions go, because they pretty much make up 6th place overall all the way down through 11th. And then even after that, Shad Prescott, who was in 16th overall, was still showing some pace. So as far as sturdy, rugged cars go, they may not be the fastest, but they were the toughest all race long. It's got to be those big blocks, and I'm impressed by them. But I thought for sure the super late models would have been the fastest car on track. Was not the case, though. The sprint cars, they're light, they're small, and they can fit into places that you wouldn't normally expect them to fit into. So we saw them going through some holes that just none of these other cars would be able to fit through. And I think that attributes to how they were able to get up there and be as fast, because in all intents and purposes, the super late models are the faster car in a straight line. But just overall, the sprint cars were the fastest tonight, but probably not the most durable, as they a few of them went out because of some wild flips. I think we saw the cat car go flipping quite a bit tonight, and man, it's just a lot of different types of cars that you really get to see just what type of car you want to have if you ever have to go into a Mad Max style run to the finish. And that was incredible on all parts. Everyone who drove these cars, fantastic driving, able to get going and get this race done. And pretty much, it went the way that I thought it would, which is fun to watch. And I bet the drivers had fun doing it too.
Yeah, it certainly was. We've got Ronald Pyle up in the booth with us. Ronald, you were out there in action, not able to finish in the top 3 for your class, but still crazy racing. Let's hear from your point of view.
I was crazy out there trying to keep the nose clean. I did it for a while. Jeb made a mistake early on, and I was able to get around him, but unfortunately, I had a nice little visit from somebody, popped the motor, and went to go get a quick fast repair down there in the pits, and came back out and ended up going back in again, and that pretty much ended my night there. But trying to finish top 3 with multiple classes out there. A lot of the drivers said it was a lot of fun, and they look forward to another one. But unfortunately, we do this once a year here, so we don't get bored of it and don't get tired of it. So Next year, once again, will be the 4th annual one, and we'll get some input from the drivers, see if they want to keep a mixed class like the Lone Star 600, or if they want to go back to the regular dirt street stock, or if they just want to mix up the events and go that route. But definitely was glad to have you guys on board, and I can't wait to watch this here in a little bit.
Yeah, Ronald, it was wild racing from our point of view. We were trying to keep up with all the action. Seemed like there was flips and wrecks everywhere. How hard is it, though, in your point of view, because you're in the big blocks? Those are the new machines that have just been added to iRacing. It's a new car here at Cedar Lake, and we weren't sure how you were going to be able to avoid all the carnage because there was just so many wrecks everywhere.
You just got to break it up and hope you're pointing in the right direction and try to figure out and anticipate where somebody's going to go. And unfortunately, I didn't see somebody. And as the carnage goes, you know, you can see through a window, but you can't see through a car. And especially when you got one in front of you that's in contact with somebody and they're hitting the brakes and you're coming up and you try to change a lane, you can't see where the car in front of them is going. So that's what makes it wild and fun. And it raises the stress level and the blood pressure a little bit, but definitely a fun event to do. And I'm glad to have it every year.
Speaking of the new car, how was driving the new car? Because it's a new car, and we want you've driven other types of cars that would go on these type of tracks. What is your overall opinion of the big blocks, and how do they compare to say the super late models and sprint cars?
In all honesty, it kind of worked out the way I thought it would. It all comes down to experience and drivability. Um, it comes down to watching the drivers get around the track and throttle control. Because at one point in time, I was actually racing. The track was slicked off enough. I was racing a super late that was on the bottom, and I was just up there playing around the top. So it all varies in experience levels and actual throttle control and how slick the track is. So it was pretty fun.
Well, Ronald, before we let you go, the floor is all yours for any shout-outs.
First and foremost, I want to thank you guys for coming out to do the broadcast for me, trying to plan this, and I want to thank you guys for your advertisement, letting this go out on your guys' streams prior to this coming up, and also want to thank BladeNerd.com, Simple Web Solutions powered by nerds, for putting the bill for the big blocks. They added that to the show. It was going to be 3 classes, but with that, they added that. Also want to thank a couple of my buddies that came in and were helping. They were racing as well, but they were watching some of the stuff around where they were and helped us keep some of this clear. The only people that were getting kicked from this race were for driving backwards after I told them not to.
That was Ronald Piles, who was able to finish 6th in his class. A great run for yourself, Ronald, and thank you for a great event for us to be able to watch.
Not a problem. I got some of the other drivers down below for interviews that they got some people they want to thank, and I'm sure they probably had some friends as well involved in that.
Yeah, we're going to be bringing in our street stack winner here and try to get Jesse Power up in the booth and see who else we can get. I mean, we're going to be talking to all the winners. There's so much carnage out there as all these drivers. Excited to see where they're going to be.
User was moved to your channel.
Jesse, it's Sam and Anthony up in the booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you guys.
That was insane to see. With all the carnage, you were out there in the street stacks and you were in the slowest machines. How was it trying to make moves forward and stay in where you're in the position you were in, while also trying to give space to all the faster machines?
Well, I gotta say, the reason I won the street stocks, they took more damage, so I only had to go pit one time, which helped me out a lot. Basically, I could see the guys coming up behind me. I'd just move out the way, let them go. But then after a while, I would stay right there, so nobody could come up behind me or I can't gain on somebody. So I noticed I was in the lead and just stayed right there.
Absolutely crazy. Anthony, you got any questions here for Jesse?
Yeah, the chaos that happened on the track, you kind of got to see it from a unique point of view, being that you were just slow enough in those cars that you could see it happen in front of you and not actually be running into it. You had time to slow down and avoid that. So just seeing all the chaos happening around you and knowing that you're in a car that can take a beating, did they give you confidence in order to get around this? And what was your overall view of just seeing all the chaos happening around?
Oh, man, this is by far one of the best races I've had all year. This was fun. I can't thank Ron enough to put on this, Blade Note for sponsoring. Yeah, the damage was cool. I mean, you could see him flying over the track in front of me. I wasn't afraid to get hit. It could take a lot, but if I was get turned around, that's when it caused a lot of damage. So I just try to keep it all going straight and just keep riding.
Well, Jesse, certainly a wild race that we were not sure how it was going to go down, but chaos was certainly seen. You were able to survive, get the win in the street stocks. Before we let you go, though, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
Yeah, like I said, I got to thank Ron Piles for putting this on, Blade Note for sponsored event, my teammates Gary, HAR Motorsports, everybody that helped me stay on the track.
That's Jesse Powers able to get the win for the street stocks in that 32 machine. Overall, able to finish 12th place. A solid day here for yourself, Jesse, and have a great rest of your new year.
Thank you guys. You too.
As Anthony, we continue to look through all of the drivers and where they finished. I think we got to get an idea of what the big blocks were like. We're going to bring in now Chris Miller.
User was moved to your channel.
And we're checking to see. Chris, it's Sam and Anthony up at the booth. You got us?
Yeah, gotcha.
Chris, you're able to survive in the big
User
blocks. It
left your
seemed like
channel.
those were the machines that were taking some of the biggest beatings. How was it, though, from your point of view?
You're absolutely right. Being that it's the open wheel, you'd think that the front end would be the first to go. And with some of the shots I took tonight, I thought I was down and out, but somehow, I made it.
Yeah,
Man.
I think certainly this race was something that showed us that you could take a beating for sure. We saw that, Piles was leading most of this race, and then you saw him get caught up. What was one of your strategies to try to avoid some of this carnage?
I really didn't have a game plan. I was just out there and just, played defense more than offense. I mean, I was running probably the bottom most of the night, just for the simple fact, you had the people coming off, onto the track out of pit road. So if you're running the top, they're coming bonsaiing out of there, and that kind of eliminated that possibility. So I just, stuck to the inside, just, played cautious pretty much.
And it wasn't a bad strategy either. You ended up winning in your class, which you seem to have had a pretty good handle on it. There was a few times that it was really close on between you and Piles ended up getting some contact, which took his car out of contention. And once you inherited the lead, you never really looked back. Was these cars fast, and how do you like the new big blocks? We asked Piles what he thought of them, but we want to get another driver's perspective on these big blocks. What do you think of the new addition to iRacing, and do you think they stand up against the other dirt cars?
Well, I think you're probably asking the right person. I am from the Northeast, where these cars originated and are prominent. I myself have had the luxury of driving not a big block per se, but it's the same type of car. It's got a 602 crate motor in it. I had a chance to drive one of those for a year. They drive about 90 to 95% similar to the car itself. As far as the power, getting feedback from other drivers in the area that are on iRacing that actually do drive the big blocks and the small blocks in real life. They say the big block is more, they feel like a 358 in real life as far as like power, which I can kind of see that. And then they say the small block is like a sportsman, and me coming from a sportsman, I can see that myself. I was ecstatic when iRacing finally came out with these. I grew up watching these at a track right down the road. But I love these cars, and that's pretty much what I'm going to be on iRacing for the foreseeable future.
Chris, it was so enjoyable to watch you guys cutting through and also be involved in some of the carnage out here. But before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
I got to thank first and foremost, Ron Piles. He puts this event on. He's also, I'm a part of HAR Motorsports. So I got to thank the team, and I got to thank some personal real life sponsors, Eastside Market and Snow Slayers. So if you're watching this and you're in the Western New York area, Snow Slayers, you need a plow, give them a call. Eastside Market's right down the street in Alcott, New York. Good place to get, it's just like a convenience store. And then I got Bicknell Racing Products, which is what the car is that got scanned, which is Bicknell. So I got to shout them out. They and that's the car I also drove in real life. They great customer service, great people all around. Just got to thank everyone that watched it and participated in it. Thanks for making this event what it was.
That's Chris Miller running in the 17 machine, able to get it done here in the big blocks. Overall, was able to finish in 6th place. Chris, a great day for yourself, and have a great rest of your new year.
Thanks, guys. You too.
Now we're going to be bringing in from the late
User
models.
was moved to
It's
your
going to be
channel.
Jerry Filippo. Jerry, you got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Jerry, you were able to fight off and fend off and able to find yourself up front. You're able to overall finish in 2nd place, winning with the streets, winning with the late models, excuse
User
me.
left your channel.
Incredible racing on your part, able to cut your way through, but you were involved in some incidences. How was it, though, from your point of view?
It was just crazy out there. I didn't know what was happening most of the time, so I just decided to roll around the bottom and figured that was the best bet.
Pick a direction and point it there. I know that kind of racing, and it does work, and it did work out for you as well. And you were finding yourself in some pretty close battles between yourself and Trevor Fitz, and it looked like that you two were going to share and swap positions. And then Fitz had an incident happen with him, and he fell about a lap behind you. But still, there was always something to be looking around for, and always something to be looking out for, and trying to stay out of the way of things. The traffic tonight was a big talking point. And how do you feel that you how do you feel that you handled the traffic tonight, knowing that it was such a small track and so many cars?
I think I did decent. It could have been a little better, but just kind of got to watch out for ones that are going cross racetrack and all. So wasn't bad.
Yeah, I mean, Jerry, like you said, you were staying to the bottom. I was noticing that there were the little tires there. Were those tires affecting you in any way, or were you able to just drive over them perfectly fine?
In the late models, you can just drive over them pretty fine. It doesn't affect it too bad, but I don't know how about all the other cars.
Well, Jerry, you certainly were able to survive winning out and being the winner of the late models. Before we let you go, though, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
I'd like to thank D1RT Racing and Scooter Black for the awesome wraps. Thank you.
That's Jerry Filippo, able to win out for the late models, 2nd place overall, and a great run for himself. Have a great rest of your new year there, Jerry.
Thank you, guys, too.
The driver that was able to win it all
User
and
was moved
also
to your
able
channel.
to win out for the here for the sprint cars. That's going to be John Helms. John, are you there?
Yes, sir.
John, somehow you were able to cut your way through. I thought for sure, just due to
User
the fact that you
disconnected
were
from your
in
channel.
the sprint cars, if you got hit once, your day was over. Somehow you were able to stay up front and cut your way through.
Yeah, man. Right at the start of the race, I pushed just a little bit too hard, and I got myself into a crash there, and my front wing got knocked off. The car was still fast, but I went a lap down. Somehow, I managed to get that lap back and pass him. Not sure what happened to him, but that car was a handful.
Yeah, no front wing on that car for the majority of the race. And honestly, I couldn't even tell. I mean, I could see that you were a little slower through the turns, that the other sprint cars were just whizzing around the outside line up against the wall. And you were kind of had more of a slower roll in, something more similar to one of the big blocks or the super late models. But that wasn't necessarily a bad thing, because you were able to control your pace and kind of match the other cars. Being that you could do that, I believe that, if I'm not wrong, that was a big advantage to you, because you can kind of control it better and be able to whiz your way. And if you saw something in front of you, you're able to get around it. So was the handling anything that you were concerned about, and just the awareness needed in this race? How was was your heart rate through the roof throughout this entire race? Because there was a lot happening.
Yeah, the handling was tough right at the end. Made some late race contact with another sprint car, and it was just it was really tough to drive. I was just trying to look forward pretty much the whole race and keep a slow pace, just in case, if anything happened, I would have enough reaction time to slow down and get by these cars.
Yeah, John, honestly, it was a blast for us to watch and an honor to be able to see you cut your way through and be the overall driver to win this race, as well as winning for the sprint cars, able to get that $50 for yourself. But here at during this race, I mean, was there anything that was kind of surprising for you while you're running out there?
To be honest, not really. No. Um, it was very hectic. I will tell you that. I expected it to be very, very chaotic and a lot of people driving a little crazy for the extra couple bucks, but it wasn't nothing out of my expectation.
It certainly was a blast for us, for sure, to watch up in the booth. Well, John, before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
All right, I'd like to thank 490 Designs, Raise Energy, HAR Motorsports, Flatout Racing Network, Ricky Bonham, Tyler No, and Joshua Lotz.
That's
And
John Helms. Oh, excuse me.
yeah, I was going to say thank you guys too for announcing. You guys did a fantastic job.
Well, thank you very much there, John. That's John Helms in the 7 machine for the sprint cars, able to get the overall win here at Cedar Lake, as well as winning for the sprint machines. Congratulations, John, and have a great rest of your New Year's.
Thank you. You too.
Well, Anthony, as we're coming to a wind down here, we had a total of 40 machines to try to qualify for this race. 30 were able to hit the track, but it looked like only about 15 were able to complete the race completely. Absolute chaos from start to finish for 100 laps here at Cedar Lake.
It was, and a lot of these drivers didn't even finish on the lead lap. I believe only 2 drivers finished on the lead lap, and that was the first and second place position, Helms and Filippo. All of the drivers finished at least 1 lap down or more, so it was chaotic throughout the entire race. It was something that, it's just you watch it happen, and you're on edge. As a commentator, we see some races that just make us on edge in our seats, looking for the next thing, and just seeing this race and how it turned out. It was fantastic, start to finish, I should say, and just seeing all the different classes of cars on the racetrack. And we referenced the Lone Star 600. That is one of the best examples in the real world to see this kind of racing take place, and just seeing it here, multi-class enduro racing on a tight circuit. Lots of fast cars and a lot on the line for some of these drivers. And, it's a new year. So ringing in the new year with one of the most chaotic races that we have ever seen.
An absolute blast for the both of us to watch here for the BladeNotes.com New Year's Day Enduros race. Huge thanks to Blade Notes for giving us this opportunity. If you guys need any web hosting, email hosting, or VPS hosting, check out BladeNode.com. Simple web solutions powered by nerds. Remember, you can use their promo code HERD at the checkout for 20% off at BladeNodes.com for their services and products. Thank you so much. Also, thank you for Herds Motorsports for allowing us to broadcast this amazing race we had here tonight. And Anthony, like always, thanks for being up in the booth with me.
It's been a pleasure, Sam. It's been a while for me. I haven't been in the booth with you for a little while, so it's kind of nice to get back with you. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the year. It's just started. 2021 is here, and we're ready to get back into it. And I'm so glad that you got to be with me, and it's always a blast.
Oh, it's so much fun. New year, new season, lots of racing to be made as Flatout Racing Network gets to more racing action on Sunday night. Clutch Drop Cup Series is racing at Richmond. They're running low on tracks on who's going to be making it into the playoffs. Cannot wait for more racing action throughout 2021. And thank you for all coming for the BladesNode.com New Year's Day indoor race. Can't wait to see when the 4th race will happen next year. But for Anthony and for myself, thanks for watching another presentation of the Flatout Racing Network. Have a great rest of your New Year's, and have a great rest of your 2021.